When we step into our power, we step into full responsibility of ourselves, and therefore we step into becoming the embodied creatrix of our life and our reality.
Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast with me, Rebecca Wilson. An embodied experiential space for you to drop deep into the wealth of wisdom within your being and activate a fuller, richer you. I am a feminine awakener, thought leader, embodied business doula, sacred business midwife, healer, and all-round medicine woman. I am here to guide women deeper into their essence and power, to activate their life force, awaken pleasure, and support them to live an embodied life. I will help you birth your visions, dreams, creations, desires, and sacred business into the world from an easeful, embodied, and rooted place within. My work supports women to become more available for life, love, relationship, connection, creation, pleasure, and wealth. I will activate you into self-leadership and self-mastery to truly live an embodied and awakened life. Welcome on the journey, my love.
Hello, my love. Welcome to the Embodied Woman podcast. So good to have you here. So in today's episode, I wanted to dive straight in to a theme that reveals itself in many different forms in all of the containers, retreats, mentorships, and spaces that I curate and offer and hold for women. And this is a twofold theme of power and self-responsibility. And although both of these subjects exist on their own, they also coexist in ways together. Often the term or the felt experience of the word power can be somewhat loaded and feel quite big for some women, some humans, and their bodies and their nervous systems. But here I'm talking about self-power, self-authority, and how often what I would coin or share as the easier choice, but it's not really, it's the habitual choice. And when I say the easiest choice is to give your power away, because it takes no responsibility. What I'm really sharing here is that it's much easier for us to stay locked into the loops of habitual patterns and behaviors that we have adopted and been imprinted into from our formative years and our life experiences than it is to face ourselves, all parts of ourselves, in full power and take radical responsibility for ourselves and our choices and how those choices manifest within our life experiences, within our work, creations, business, relationships, and so on. So when I speak about easy, I actually speak about habitual and how it's easier for the nervous system and the body and the ego to stay in those patterns of familiar than it is to take a really strong, sober look at ourselves and the loops of energy and expression and the ways in which we interact in relationship to ourselves and others, and begin to comb through them, those patterns and those ways of being, to learn and to recognize How do we give our power away? How do we not take responsibility for our actions, our choices, and where they lead us to, and the outcomes that they get us within our lives? The parts of us that don't want to take responsibility for ourselves are usually the parts of the ego, the parts of the protector, the parts of the defensive one, the parts that do not want to see their part in the whole manifestation of our external reality. Because when we arrive into radical self-responsibility, we also arrive into a landing ground of choice. And when we take responsibility for ourselves and our actions, we're also taking responsibility for our choices. And very often here we are feeling the call to make different choices, to create different outcomes and experiences. And often this can feel challenging because it's not just a changing of our choice, but often we are going against the grain that's been woven inside of us through our family system for generations upon generations, and the collective and the societal conditions that we have grown up in and around and formed our beliefs and opinions and identities from this external world of information. The part of us that doesn't take responsibility is also the part that hands our power over to the stories and the beliefs and the narratives that keep us bound and stuck in paradigms of experiences in our lives that we often complain about. Yes, we're very comfortable as humans complaining about the manifested outcomes within our reality. And yet, if we stood in full power and self-responsibility, we could recognize our part that we play in the creation of that manifestation of our own reality. And this is all deeply woven into the unconscious of ourselves. It's deeply woven into the unconscious of our body and our nervous systems. These cultural conditions, internalized systems of oppression, family patterns, family beliefs, external beliefs of humanity and the world, maybe religion, society, culture. And they're all just taken on as pieces of information when we are young and sponges and absorbent. And we believe this is what we believe. This is what we do. This is what we think in this household. This is what this family says and doesn't say. These are the choices we make. This is how we decide to communicate. This is how we don't communicate. This is how we show up in relationships. This is how we take care of ourselves or not. This is how we nurture ourselves or not. This is how we nourish our connections with family, with friends, with co-workers, with loved ones, with partners, with children, and so on. We get the idea. All this information we're taking in, and we just learn this is who I be in the world. This is how it gets done. This human thing called life. And very rarely do we question that, or very rarely are we born into a system that allows the questioning of that for us to find our own way and identity within our life. And so these family systems or systemic beliefs and patterns live on generation upon generation. Very rarely taking responsibility for ourselves and really questioning how we show up in our lives and if we are living in our full truth, our full authenticity, and in our full power. But when we do awaken, which I'm sure many of you here listening and the women in my world are on that journey, on the journey of responsibility and reclaiming their power and authentic self. So when we do arrive into this awakening, we begin to feel or sense this invitation from that which we connect into. Maybe it's the divine, the universe, our higher self, our inner wisdom, calling us into our own being to recognize, how do I partake in the patterns, narratives, and the outcomes that manifest constantly within my life and my relationships? What is my responsibility in that? In what way do I contribute to these cycles of expression being perpetually on loop? And if I was to reclaim my power in this moment and took full responsibility for my part and my part only, how could this dynamic that I find myself in, which does not feel good, true, aligned, how would that be able to shift? What could I be responsible for stepping out of the loop of energy, which I find myself in? And when I say responsibility for my part, it's my part only, and your part is your part too. We are not in our full power when we are taking responsibility for somebody else's part, only our own. And that is where true transformation lives. It's to awaken into the self-conceived patterns and imprints and ways of being that have kept us stuck or in loops of expression, arriving into the same manifested outcome time and time again and wondering how we got there. Well, my love, we are often the common denominator in those experiences that we have. My dad says to me often, yes, Rebecca, same shit, different day. And I don't often swear, but he's right. Dave has got some wisdom there. And if we are in those stories of our lives, the same shit, different day, we need to ask ourselves, I'm the common thread here. I'm in this same day over and over again. I'm in this same reaction over and over again. I'm in this same outcome over and over again. Where am I able to reclaim my power, take responsibility for myself, wake up to the patterns and the narratives, and potentially how they have unconsciously been serving me, realign myself to deeper truth, to the outcome that would serve me and my life, and make different choices to arrive into different outcomes and take different actions to arrive into new experiences of expression. When we step into our power, we step into full responsibility of ourselves. And therefore, we step into becoming the embodied creatrix of our life and our reality. And this is a journey that I guide and support so many women on. It always arrives as a profound subject of conversation upon retreats, in my online courses, and within my one-to-one mentorships. And supporting women on this journey of stepping into their power, for them to see more clearly themselves and their lives, and therefore take responsibility for themselves, to align into the desired outcome they have for their worlds, their relationships, their leadership, their journey of parenting, is a deep path of transformation. And it allows women to step out of the loop of wounding and patterns and triggers that have not been serving them, and step into new choices that serve themselves and their life of their desires more fully. And this is a journey of choice, making a new choice to arrive into a new reality. I am deeply honored and love connecting with women, guiding them into their power and their wisdom, so that they can step fully into self-inquiry and exploration from an embodied place, to be able to reconnect to themselves, their hearts, their wombs, their wisdom, and awaken. If you are a woman ready to step into your power and take radical responsibility of your life, I am here as your guide. I welcome you to join us. We have so many beautiful offerings open for you at the moment. You can join us in the Village, which is a monthly community membership, a space for women to arrive into deeper relationship with themselves and also step into a beautiful village of women, holding them and supporting them every step of the way. You can also join me on retreat. We have a retreat in September in the Peak District, the Medicine Woman retreat, and another retreat in October, the Embodied Creatrix retreat, also in the Peak District. Or if you're feeling that call for a deeper journey of individual support, I have limited spaces open for the remainder of 2023 for my Awakening Woman Individual Mentorship. I will have popped all the links for those offerings in the show notes of this episode, so you can have a look around, see, feel what calls you and where you feel aligned to step into this world if you do. I am here. Connect with me over on Instagram at Rebecca_Wilson_ and sending you deep love and embodied power.
Thank you for joining me on this journey today. If you loved this musing and sharing, I would love for you to share this episode far and wide. You can arrive into all of my offerings at rebecca-wilson.com. Links to dive deeper with me are in the episode notes. Remember, my love, you are here to be the fullest, most potent, powerful, embodied version of you. I am here to guide you into that. Hey love, I'm dropping in here to welcome you to join us in our online community membership, The Village. I created this space for women to gather, to return to themselves, to deepen the connection and the relationship with self, whilst held in a community of like-minded women walking the journey and the path of their own awakening.